Hello, I'm Jan Shravinsky. Welcome on board the Eastern Express. I hope you enjoy the journey. And this time around, we're talking about Turkey, a country that seems to think the best way to navigate the world stage is by playing a game of let's see how many alliances we can juggle before they all come crashing down. Recently, Turkey, a proud NATO member, announced that it is seeking membership in BRICS, the economic bloc that includes Russia and China, and that's basically the Avengers for countries not too fond of the West. It is the geopolitical equivalent of showing up to a party wearing a shirt that says, "I'm with NATO," while secretly texting your friends, the ones who hate NATO, to see if they're down for drinks later on. Will this be the straw that breaks the ties between Ankara and the alliance? Well, we shall see. But first, let's take a look at our latest report to find out more.
Turkey has officially submitted a request to join the BRICS group of major emerging market nations. Ömer Çelik, the spokesman for President Erdoğan ruling Justice and Development Party, has confirmed that the process was underway. If successful, Turkey would become the first NATO member to join BRICS, which currently includes Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. The group aims to serve as a counterbalance to the Western-led global order. Erdoğan has long expressed a desire for Turkey to participate in all major international platforms, including BRICS. The Turkish president has said his country's goal is to develop strong relations with both Eastern and Western nations, viewing BRICS membership as a complementary to its other international affiliations. But the country's bid to join the bloc comes amid stalled European Union membership talks. Launched in 2005, the talks have gone nowhere since a crackdown on Turkish opposition groups following a failed coup in 2016. Ankara has also maintained close relations with Moscow, despite Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And now we're zooming in on Ankara to take a look at the issue in greater detail. Now, this move by Turkey has everyone asking, what is Erdoğan up to this time? On one hand, you've got NATO, the alliance that Turkey has been a part of since 1952, providing the security umbrella under which Turkey has thrived. On the other hand, there is BRICS, a coalition of countries led by Russia and China, neither of which are exactly known for their warm and fuzzy feelings towards NATO. So why is Turkey making this move? Well, the answer is complicated, because everything involving Erdoğan usually is. For starters, Erdoğan has always been a fan of keeping his options open. He is like that friend who RSVPs to 3 different parties on the same night, just so that he can see which one has the best vibes before he decides where to show up. By courting BRICS, Erdoğan is signaling that he is not putting all his eggs in the NATO basket, especially at a time when he feels the West has been, shall we say, less than appreciative of Turkey's unique position in the world. And let's be real, Turkey's relationship with NATO has been on rocky ground for a while. Remember when Turkey bought Russian S-400 missiles, much to the horror and dismay of its NATO allies? That was a bit like showing up to your marriage counseling session with your mistress. Then there was Turkey's spat with Sweden over NATO membership. So in this context, Turkey's flirtation with BRICS isn't just a random move. Think of it as a calculated attempt to show that Turkey doesn't need to stick with NATO if NATO isn't going to give Turkey what it really wants. But here's where things really get tricky. By trying to join BRICS, Turkey is essentially straddling 2 worlds that don't get along, like, at all. NATO and BRICS are not just rival clubs, they represent competing visions of how the world should work. NATO is all about collective defense, and let's face it, a lot of American influence. BRICS, on the other hand, is about challenging that very system, with Russia and China leading the charge to create a world where the West doesn't call the shots anymore. Other NATO members are watching this closely, and they are not thrilled. After all, how do you plan joint defense strategies when one of your key allies is fraternizing with the enemy? But before we go all doom and gloom, let's consider Ankara's perspective here. Turkey sees itself as a regional power in its own right, and Erdoğan is betting that by diversifying Turkey's alliances, he can carve out more space for Turkey on the global stage. He's looking at the rise of China, the resilience of Russia despite sanctions, and the global south's growing push for more influence, and he's thinking, why not hedge our bets? Of course, this is a risky strategy, and let's not forget, while BRICS might offer economic opportunities, it is not going to protect Turkey if things go south in its neighborhood. All things considered, Turkey's bid to join BRICS is a bold, risky move that could have far-reaching consequences. It would either elevate Ankara to a new level of influence or backfire in a spectacular fashion, leaving Turkey isolated and vulnerable. And only time will tell which one it's actually going to be. And now here to shed more light on the issue is Dean Shmuel Elmas, the geopolitical and energy journalist at Globes. Hello and welcome to Eastern Express.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, would you say that the accession to BRICS, the potential accession, but apparently the activities related to that are already underway in one way or another, would you say that this is a surprise, that Turkey has actually decided to do this?
For me, it's not a surprise at all. Let's look on the recent developments from Turkey. During the current term of Erdoğan government, we saw Foreign Minister Fidan developing his relations with Iran, for example. And through all of the last years, Turkey tried to be some kind of pro-Western and pro-Eastern at the very same time. Turkey, as we know, is a NATO member from the 50s, and now they try to leverage their relations with Russia for BRICS. In this way, they try to be some kind of a diplomatic hub, just like the way that they try to be a gas hub, but not gas hub as a developer. A gas hub is through the formal government company of potash. They use their own pipeline to take LNG or to take Azerbaijani gas to Europe. So in this way, Turkey tried to become a global hub in different kind of sectors.
So they're trying to follow their own path, like they're trying to have good relations with everyone, but is it even possible? Some commentators say NATO needs Turkey so badly that it has to forgive it. And do you think that this particular action is something that we could call the crossing of a line, or should NATO countries basically, well, take a glance at this, perhaps make some statements, but overall, just do nothing at all, because Turkey is quite valuable for them?
I would like to take you first and foremost about 100 years ago. We know that because of Montreux Convention, Turkey obviously is the boss of the Bosphorus, and this is the one and only gate to the Black Sea, and Turkey is its own place in the world. They are very critical for the aviation transformation, for the different sector. And Turkey understands it. And therefore, Turkey understands that and just like them, if to be honest, I don't see a concrete action by NATO against Turkey. We know through all of NATO history that NATO didn't exclude any member. We had the long conversation about Sweden and Finland about their decision and how they wanted to join NATO, but there is no NATO member that ever excluded from the treaty.
But should it even be on the cards? I mean, some people say that even though Turkey might be controversial, it actually makes statements which border on the belligerent. I mean, it did so with regards to Greece. A similar story happened with Israel, actually. Following the war in Gaza, Erdoğan was actually making statements that were very controversial there. But ultimately, Turkey also plays a certain role. It is blocking the expansion of potentially hazardous trends and forces from further east. So would you say that in a certain way, even though it is acting the way it does, there is no way around it, that it is indispensable?
You mentioned Israel. So let's take Israel. President Erdoğan decided to put a trade embargo on Israel on May. Israel leadership made several comments against Turkey, but didn't do nothing, if to be honest. As an Israeli journalist, I've got to emphasize this issue. And if we take a broader picture, the NATO members and Europe needs Turkey. If we look on the last 2.5 years, from the time that Russia invaded Ukraine, the European countries improved their gas contracts with Azerbaijan. But how they get this gas? They get this gas through potash, through the pipelines of Turkey. And in this way, from my own perspective, President Erdoğan waited for several time to make several actions that will put Turkey, obviously, in a place that Turkey can make some actions like join BRICS without any concrete counteraction by Europe.
How cohesive is BRICS really, though? Because some people think of it as something of an antithesis to Western alliances, especially economic ones. But unlike, say, if we expand beyond just economic alliances, NATO, I mean, NATO has a certain command structure to it. Now, some people say, well, BRICS is loosely structured and it doesn't have a single foreign policy or anything like this, being as it does composed of countries like China, India, which do have divergent aims in terms of their policies. So is it really that much of a danger? Is Turkey's involvement there really something that we should be worried about?
We should be worried, and I tell you why. BRICS is a strong alliance from the economic point of view, but not from the defense point of view. So in this way, Turkey, for example, can be a very good ally of Russia or China, for example, but not for India. We see Prime Minister Modi right now. Turkey is a good friend of Pakistan, not a good friend of India, and therefore Turkey can stick with their own foreign policy and even improve the relations with several countries. Now we can see Lula, and Lula is anti-Israeli, just like President Erdoğan. And if President Erdoğan would like to improve his own economic ties with Brazil, BRICS is a great stage for that.
So BRICS obviously is a problematic issue there with regards to Turkey. But would you say that when we think about Turkey's role in today's politics and the options that we still have, what would you think would be the possible proposal, the possible leverage, if you will, that the West could use to urge Turkey to come back into the fold, so to say? Are there any incentives that the US and its allies should consider in order for Turkey to stop trying to show that, oh, you know, we are capable of playing with everyone, we can join BRICS and all that? Perhaps they're doing that because they don't really have that much of an alternative. I mean, the negotiations with the European Union, well, that's kind of stalling, really. It's going nowhere. So would you say that more incentives are needed there?
I would like to compare that to the S-400 issue. We remember that when President Erdoğan decided to buy S-400 from Russia, the US excluded them, the Turkish, from the F-35 program, and at the same time they used CAATSA sanctions against Turkey. I think that the only way that Europe will be able to hurt Turkey is through the trade. And why? The most important economic issue for Turkey is the exports. And when you try to make some leverages, such like when you'll take electricity items and tell, listen, from now on we won't accept Turkish electricity items. The top figures of the Turkish economic sector will go to President Erdogan and tell him, listen, we can't live with this situation. And I think that this is the one and only specific leverage that the European countries would like to use and will be able to use as well.
Very quickly, because these are negative incentives, any sort of positive incentives?
I think that the only positive incentives is from the Turkish side, if to be honest, because President Erdogan has had great economic relations with the European countries, and he understands that he has some kind of interests. For example, with China, Turkey would like to improve the exports with trains to Central Asia and back, and therefore I don't see any positive incentives from the European sides, because President Erdogan already has a great economic ties with the European countries, and as well he has all the trains and all the aviation companies that go through Istanbul, that we know that this is one of the most intensive airports in the world.
So it seems that transactional politics only works if your partner isn't actually selling to the highest bidder. And if the highest bidder happens to be BRICS, well, it seems that Europe and its allies might actually be in trouble there. Dean Shmuel Elmas was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you, guys.
And now we're moving on to Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you really don't want to miss. A major government shake-up is underway in Ukraine after at least 7 ministers and senior officials resigned and a presidential aide was fired. Among them, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dmytro Kuleba.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned following President Volodymyr Zelensky's announcement of a major government reshuffle. The resignation was confirmed by the Ukrainian Parliament Speaker Ruslan Stefanchuk, who stated that lawmakers would discuss the matter soon. This follows the resignations of deputy prime ministers, as well as several other key ministers, including strategic industries, justice and environment. President Zelensky has emphasized the need for these changes to strengthen the government and improve coordination between the central government and local communities, especially in preparation for the winter season. He indicated that more personal changes are expected in the coming months. The shake-up comes at a critical point in the war against Russian forces advancing on the Eastern Front. Zelensky is due to travel to the United States this month, where he is expected to outline his victory plan to President Joe Biden.
Mongolia has announced its decision not to arrest Russian leader Vladimir Putin during his visit to the country, despite an International Criminal Court warrant for his arrest. The ICC issued the warrant back in March 2023, accusing Putin of war crimes related to the conflict in Ukraine.
Mongolia, a signatory to the Rome Statute which governs the ICC, is technically obliged to enforce the arrest warrant. However, the Mongolian government cited its significant energy dependence on Russia as a key reason for its refusal. The visit, which took place on September 3, 2024, marks Putin's first trip to an ICC member state since the warrant was issued. The visit is officially linked to the 85th anniversary of the 1939 battles against Japanese forces. However, it also holds strategic importance for Russia's economic interests, particularly the proposed Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline project to China via Mongolia. Ukraine's foreign ministry has urged Mongolia to fulfill its international obligations and arrest Putin, emphasizing the gravity of the war crimes charges.
The European Union has expressed strong disapproval of Serbian Deputy Prime Minister Aleksandar Vulin's planned meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The meeting is set to take place on the sidelines of an economic forum in Vladivostok.
The European Union emphasized that maintaining close ties with Russia, especially amid the ongoing invasion of Ukraine, contradicts the bloc's values and Serbia's EU accession process. The warning followed the announcement of a meeting between Serbian Deputy Prime Minister Aleksandar Vulin and Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of an economic forum in Vladivostok on September 3rd. Serbian Prime Minister Milos Vucevic downplayed the significance of the planned meeting with Putin, asserting that Serbia has not severed diplomatic relations with Russia and maintained normal communication. He also highlighted that Serbia has consistently supported Ukraine's territorial integrity in international resolutions.
According to an investigative report, Russia has imported over $29 million in US dollar and euro banknotes from Rwanda this year. This transaction comes despite Western sanctions that prohibit the export of these currencies to Russia, imposed in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
As it turns out, at the beginning of the year, Russia's state-controlled arms exporter Rosoboronexport imported more than $29 million worth of $100 bills from Rwanda's defense ministry. Similarly, Aero Trade, a company known for providing duty-free shopping services, registered 2 shipments into Russia, one worth $20 million and another for 20 million euros. These imports are part of a larger trend, with an estimated $2.2 billion in dollars and euros sent to Russia from countries like Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, which have not imposed similar restrictions. The exact source and destination of the cash remains unclear. Rwanda, despite being among the majority of UN members condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, facilitated these transactions, raising questions about the enforcement and effectiveness of international sanctions.
And for this episode of Eastern Express, it's the end of the line. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates. I'm Jonasz Rewinski. Bye for now.